All right, another episode. Welcome, Brian. Comstock podcast, Turning Pain into Power. I have an amazing guest, Blake Goldsmith. Blake is a transformational coach and expert in healing abandonment and emotional wounds. Through the lens of attachment theory and deep somatic embodiment, he supports individuals in breaking free from anxious patterns, reconnecting to their wholeness and safety, and building healthy relationships with themselves. His work guides people back to the truth of who they are, empowering them to feel safe in their bodies and hearts, live with authenticity, and never abandon themselves again. Blake, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Brian. What a way to start. I wasn't expecting this.
Yeah, always a fun. I love the bio stuff. And then also shout out to the Kind Power, who's a nonprofit that I'm collaborating with, partnering with to, again, bring these stories, bring these amazing guests, bring this all to the fold for you guys. So, Blake, let's just start a bit with your story. Like, how did you get so into all this stuff? Like, what's kind of the 10 million thousand foot view?
Wow, great question, right? Well, I guess where to start, right? But I obviously, you the title, right, is turning pain into power, right? So obviously, I came from my own pain, and obviously, on my own journey is how I kind of got to where I am today, navigating through my own wounds, my own fears, my own traumas, and that's the short version. But if I dive a bit more into it, I had my own abandonment wounds from my father, or my parents got divorced, and my own emotional wounds with my mother as well, right? Obviously, I'm from the UK, as you may be able to hear, but at an early age, I moved to France when I was 13 and grew up there and had a different background, different country, different culture, different language, new school, and obviously all of my wounds really came to the surface when I was growing up and started to date, right, in relationships. And obviously I was always the shy, anxious man, the nice guy, never speaking my truth, never saying how I truly felt or what I really wanted in life. And deep down I'd be feeling resentful towards women for that. I'm like, oh, why can't they just love me for who I am and be nice, right? And why do all the douchebags always get with the women, right? And so but obviously, there's still a part of me which is still performing. And obviously that's what led to then the deep healing after, which I can talk about now or later if you like. But that's kind of like the background of where I came from. And that's kind of how I started to the journey where I am now today.
No, I appreciate that. Well, since we're here, I don't think you just woke up and were like, you know what, let's go deep. Like there tends to be compelling events, plural, singular. Like it tends to be a massive, it requires a massive concerted effort to do any sort of deep healing, however you define that, however you approach that. So yeah, like what went into that? What went into motivating you to go deeper with it?
Obviously, when I came from that, right, I was seeking validation from women and from men. And even when I got the validation, I still felt empty inside. It was never the validation that I wanted. It was what I thought I wanted, right? Because obviously I didn't feel seen or recognized as a boy. So I went out there to externalize it, right? I thought, oh, when I sleep with all these women and get this praise from my brothers who are, like, because obviously when I do something, I commit. I'm like obsessive about stuff. So I go all in, and that's obviously, it's a curse and a blessing, right? I can get like addicted and obsessed about something and let everything else just take over my life. So because I got there to the top, right? The same with my career. I worked my way up as a private chef. I was a chef for 15 years and became a private chef cooking for the richest billionaires on this planet on their super yachts and their private jets around the villas, traveling the world, working the best restaurants in the world. But nothing that I achieved externally would fill that internal void. So that's when I had to finally look inwards and see what was really happening.
Well, so it started with the awareness of like, I'm doing all these things for external validation, but I still feel emptiness. I still feel whole, that I'm keep trying to fill externally, but then eventually you realize definition of insanity, it's not working. So you shook it up. So what's the journey, or like, how do you figure out how to heal deeper? Because that's obviously a big theme, both for your audience and my audience is how do you heal these deeper, patterns, these deeper attachment style. We'll get into the more specifics of the attachment stuff, but like, how did you, before we get into like the theoretical model, like how did you navigate that of like, where do I even begin?
Yeah, that's a great question, right? And I think, validation is something which all men suffer with to an extent in this world, right? Or many men, and women too. But what really helped me, I would say,
That's why I
is
started a podcast. Just
yeah,
hopefully get enough validation until I can feel good about myself.
yeah, well, it's working.
That's why you're here right now. Just one giant validation game for me. Yeah, no,
Oh man.
it's a quarter truth.
But what I would say on a serious note, what really was powerful and impactful for me on my journey was having a mirror, right?
Like someone to reflect back
Yeah,
to.
exactly. Um, of like what's really happening, and also most important for me to actually just go and be and sit with my pain and sit with that little boy inside, right? The boy who's feeling abandoned and rejected, unworthy, and actually feel my pain and not run away from it and not outsource it or bypass it.
Or distract or not.
Exactly. Numb, because obviously, I went through that whole process as well. Again, seeking to feel something different, to not feel my pain, running away from my pain. It was only when I was sober that I sat with it did things really, really start to change.
That totally resonates for my experience as well, is like the tendencies to run away from it. And one idea I've been playing with as a slight distraction from what we're getting on is like, is there a place for healthy distraction as opposed to unhealthy distraction? Because, for example, like I've been funneling a lot of my focus into athletic pursuits, tennis, whatever, and I'm always asking myself, is this a healthy distraction, or is this just another form of trying to avoid, But to be clear, just going direct, and I have done this with the therapist, I'm still doing it, like to go to just literally sit with it and access those parts, which is a muscle that like I had to develop, just even to access the parts of me that like, what's going on? What is this feeling? Develop that fluency with the parts of me that I neglected or abandoned, recultivate that relationship. Anyways, to be clear, my lived experience maps with yours of going straight to it has healing rewards, dividends. Like there's no way to just completely bypass it. Yeah. So you found someone to help guide you through that, and you really just took the plunge on that.
Yeah, well, it started in different ways, right? But having my own coaches and guides and healers and people and also even medicines, right? It's having that mirror. But then it's also the most important part is the integration, right? And obviously having a coach walking beside you and making sure that you're integrating what's coming up is super powerful, right? Having that accountability and that support is that's what we really need. Because obviously at the end of the day, like whatever's coming up inside of us, right? And it's really just these younger parts of us that are seeking for resolution. And most of the time, what they want is just your presence. They don't give a shit about the money, the yachts, the girls, the fame. It's just that little boy who just wants you to go back and help him to feel and to process, or her, if it's a woman, right? To be with them, to help them process these emotions, which back then for them was extremely overwhelming for their nervous system and their brain, which kind of felt like death. So they're kind of still stuck there. So that's obviously how it shows up in relationships. Exactly. That's obviously how it shows up in relationships, right? Whenever you get triggered by your partner, you're really responding from the emotional intelligence of a 5-year-old boy who's still stuck, right? So even though you're in an adult body, so that's obviously how it shows up a lot in relationships too.
Have you ever gone through a high conflict or emotionally devastating relationship that had you?
Of course. Who hasn't? I think
I don't want to assume too much here. Talk to me about that, like, because that's where you phoenix rise from the ashes, rebuild who you. I mean, that's a lighter fluid for growth. Yeah. It can be if you use it appropriately.
Exactly, and I think from all the men that I know and work with, and all the women that I've worked with as well, 90% of people come to me after an emotional breakup to work with me, because that's when the pain is so real, right? And
that's how you get someone's attention.
Exactly. But it doesn't have to be that way, right? You don't have to hit rock bottom in order to change your life, to do something about it. But some people, they need to hit rock bottom to do that. And so obviously, I had many emotional breakups that were just like devastating for me, right? And I would say that's kind of what got me into pickup in the first place, right? To have more options, right? So I'm not just only focused on this one girl that I loved when I was, when I was a teenager in school, and I'd had more options. But then even when I did have options, right, and I was, flirting around, being with many, many women, there was always one or two that I would like fall for. And yeah, that'd be so painful, man. So that was again a mirror as to how I wasn't able to show up in my truth, in operating from my heart and speaking my truth. I wasn't able to show up as a leader in a relationship. So obviously that created friction in the relationship where she couldn't respect me, she wouldn't follow my lead, she didn't feel safe. And so obviously that created the friction and killed the polarity, and it was like, I'm sure you can relate to that too.
So how did that teach you? Is that how you learned about the attachment stuff, the anxious, the avoidant, the this, the that? Like, how did that all come into the fold?
Like, I came a bit later, obviously. But at the beginning, it was more just about, understanding the relationship dynamics, right? The polarity. But the attachment styles, that came a bit deeper when I was really diving into my inner work, right? And understanding that. And obviously, I know it's quite a hot topic in today's world of, anxious, disorganized, avoidant attachments. And yeah, that came a bit later with my own healing.
So do you want to riff on as you said, it is a hot topic. Do you want to riff a bit on how you think about attachment theory styles and what you're seeing in the field? So again, Blake is a transformational coach. He does this for a living successfully on a deeper somatic level. So that's part of why I brought him on, in addition to the fact that we were friends before this. So I like people who are on the ground, like doing this on the ground. So like, just riff a bit on it. Like, what are you seeing on the ground? How did you come to think about these attachment things? Like, just kind of an open form, whatever you want to speak to. Because a lot of people hear these buzzwords and what do they mean?
Sure. Well, what I would say first and foremost is, it's very important to not get caught up in the labels, right? Obviously, it's good to have awareness of what's happening, but it doesn't mean that you are an avoidant for life or you are an anxious person for life, right? It's just
like step one, don't take it as a condemnation.
Yeah, exactly. Don't label yourself as a diagnosis for the rest of your life, right? It's just to have awareness, right?
It's just another limiting belief.
Exactly. That's the first thing, which I see people, I'm anxious, I'm avoidant, I can blah, 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 which, no, you have an anxious attachment style, which is due to your childhood and your wounds, right? But
good to have style.
Exactly. Yeah, so the first thing, right? Don't get caught up in the identity trap of it. And then, one thing I would say as well is when you know your attachment style, you got to take full ownership of it and accountability, right? Because everybody loves to blame the other person and project and blame. And obviously I get it, right? Because people's pain is real and I see people are suffering and it hurts. But whenever they're still projecting onto their ex-partner or their ex-avoidant, their ex-narcissist or whatever, sure, they have a part to play. What they did was horrible. You don't deserve it, but you still have to take responsibility as to why you got there in the first place and what you're going to do now moving forward. And obviously, I always want to empower people, right? To not let them be disempowered and stuck in a victim mentality of, poor me, I can't do anything about it. No, it's like, yes, that sucked. It's uncomfortable. Let's feel that. Let's grieve that. But we've got to not stay stuck there.
No, that's a key. I'm very aligned with that. Of like yes, it happened. You didn't deserve it. It's bad. And to your point, like we very much have to process those feelings, and then there has to be and then, because I think you could say deep somatic. I think of it also like sort of on a systemic level, like it's basic pattern recognition of like if you've done this 3 times, or that's fine. It's just a pattern has emerged. And the next question is like, how can we disrupt this pattern that's not serving your life? Like that's what I try to do that's what I try to help people with. So I'm very much aligned with that. And everyone's kind of on their journey with that of like, and it's normal, as you said, to like start with pointing the finger. Like it's a very natural place to start. But I just find the real richness when you're ready to have that mirror and kind of look with it. And it's a lot harder in some ways, but it's more rewarding.
Yeah, because you can't run away, right? And because obviously it's easy to blame the other person, right? Rather than look at yourself in the mirror and say, why was I attracted to this person in the first place, and why is it hard for me to leave them now? Because obviously, for the most part, there's always a story and a narrative that person has in their mind that, oh, if I do actually leave them, then it's only going to reaffirm the belief that I had, that I was never enough all along, right? That I was never chosen, I was never worthy, and it's just it's reenacting their trauma. Because rather than grieving it and processing it, because obviously that means that you've got to go back and actually grieve that or what's happened. But the thing is, that's already happened. The reality is that's happened already. So rather than trying to prevent it from happening again, first is actually grieve this, right? Because obviously it's more comfortable to feel what actually happened than to protect yourself from feeling it. Make sense?
So do you have like pillars or steps with your people you work with of like, first we're gonna feel it to heal it, and then we're gonna another phrase that rhymes? Like how do you
Yeah, so obviously obviously the somatic work is all in the body, right? It's all emotional work, because like it's great to talk about it and to have awareness about it, but we've got to actually like process it and integrate it. So yeah, I don't really use like buzzwords like that or anything during my sessions, but first we've got to go and be with it and sit with it, right? And actually feel the pain or discomfort that these younger parts you experience in that moment. So actually help to process it. But also you get in a safe container, right? And you actually, or the people that I guide, or the person, for example, I'm guiding them through it, they actually get to, as the adult version, they get to show up as support for that younger part of them now. Right? So the younger parts of them can actually feel supported to feel and to process this emotion. Obviously, for a younger child, it's extremely overwhelming in the nervous system, right? It's overwhelming. And if they didn't have the support from their parents or a caretaker or a loved one, and they just get abandoned there, they're kind of like frozen in that response, right? So they're actually showing up for themselves now to help their inner younger child process these parts, right? That's the first part. And then obviously they get to reconnect with their inner child through that. And the real magic happens after that. Once they've actually processed their emotion and let go of the story, the narrative, they now get to choose what that means, right? Because obviously as humans, we're meaning-making machines, right? So we always give a meaning to it. Oh, if mama shut down and dad left me, it means I'm unworthy, I'm not lovable. So they actually get now to rewrite, but not the whole story, the meaning of it. Right? Because obviously, here's what I find.
The factual story remains, but you get
exactly. Because one, if you're trying to change the story, one, you're in denial of what actually happened, and it's a tremendous amount of work to change the whole story. So, and also like you're in denial of what happened, right? So you've got to accept what happened, but we can change the meaning of what. Well, actually, mum was overwhelmed, and that she also has her own traumas, and she was freaking out. She wanted to go work to provide for that because dad was away. It's actually being able to see. We think of the word emotionally intelligent, right? It means you can actually see through your own eyes and the lens as your parents that they're also human as well, right?
And just building that acceptance and awareness, and that's like and forgiveness. Therefore,
but that means that you got to, this is like the deep core stuff is that you got to grieve the mother you didn't have that you needed, grieve the father you didn't have that you needed, and most importantly, grieve the little child inside of you that you had to abandon in order to survive. Obviously, when these moments happen, right? When it's to say whatever you express something and mum just walks away and shuts down and dad isn't there. You learn, when I speak my truth, when I express this, love goes away, right? So your survival pattern is kicking, that's not safe. When I say that or do this, love goes away. It's like your primal animal brain thinks that if I do this again, mom and dad's going to abandon me in the jungle and I'll get eaten alive by a tiger. That's kind of how it's going on in the brain. And so we put all these layers on top of it to protect ourselves from that happening again. So that's when we put on these masks to become the nice guy, the good girl, the people pleaser, become anyone else but yourself just to survive. So we've got to grieve that version of you as well.
I love it. So people have to, what are the requirements to take this sort of plunge? Like, this is not surface level stuff. So what have you, with the people that you've seen the greatest transformation and success, obviously you have a hand in that, but are there certain attributes or traits or circumstances that allow people to, like, when are people really ready for this, as opposed to
Yeah. Well, obviously, as I said, you don't have to hit rock bottom. It really comes down to when you're tired of it, right? When you make a conscious choice that I am sick and tired of this situation, always repeating the same patterns, and I'm going to do something about it. So obviously that requires a commitment on all levels, emotionally, energetically, financially, to be fully, I'm going to do something about this, right? Because when it's like, it's not that big of a deal, it could be better, but they're not going to get a transformation, or nowhere near as powerful as a person who's like, I'm going all in, this is worth everything to me, I'm done. And, that's a fundamental to it. And also I would say as well, it's about being able to be humble, to unlearn a lot of what you have learned, of what you think your patterns are, what this is. Because it's great to have awareness, but lots of the time you've got to be able to see it from a different perspective as well, to zoom out a little bit more, and to not always be emotionally responding in every single situation. But yeah, the commitment, the dedication, the humbleness of remaining a student for life, being able to receive feedback without shutting down or making it about yourself, right? Because you are going to be challenged on this journey. Your identity, your ego is going to be really pushing it to the wall sometimes. So it's going to be able to, just trust the process.
Yeah, no, I like what you said. Like, when are you tired of it? I say, when is enough enough?
Exactly.
You get to decide when is enough enough, and everyone has their own, threshold on that, and and you have to suspend judgment, because some people go through really tragic stuff, and they have to come to their own conclusions. So yeah, that's a really tough one for me. On rock bottom is one way to get there. Are there other ways to cultivate that readiness, or quite frankly, is it just they just have to get that rock bottom?
It's about being honest with yourself, right? Being honest with what do you want in this life, and then are you on track for it right now, or do you keep repeating the same pattern, right? And obviously, it is the one thing of when is enough, but it's also you get to make a conscious choice of the life you want to live. So it's about taking accountability for it and ownership of that I want to do something about this. And it's just like, show it, right? Show it that you actually mean it to yourself, and investing into yourself, and making changes.
And to make that conscious choice, is that something you can or do help people with, or is that something you find to be an internal job that they more or less have to come to you and say, hey, Blake, I saw 8,000 bits of your content, finally got through, and I decided that I'm ready. Like, or do you help people get to that?
I was a bit of both, right? Because obviously people can come to their own conclusion through just watching content, but there's often still they'll say that, right? But for example, on onboarding or sales calls, there often may still be some friction.
We're enrolling people.
Yeah, exactly. There may still be some friction, right? So one of my main intentions on any kind of enrollment call with anybody is just truth and reality. So then I don't use any sales tactics or whatever, or fancy words or whatever. It's just like, just be effing honest where you are and where you want to be, right? And obviously I'm here to be a mirror to them, and just to keep them in alignment with truth and reality. Now, you can do whatever you want to do, but just if you keep doing what you are going to do right now, you're not going to get a different result, which is fine, by the way. But don't say that you want to have a beautiful family and children and a relationship, but you can't even speak your truth in a relationship, right? And expect to have a change if you don't do anything. And by the way, it doesn't mean you have to be working with me, but do something different than what you are already doing right now. There's a truth and
Do
reality.
people
Really.
get squirmy when you hold up a mirror to them, or are you able to
Not at
develop
all.
enough trust and rapport that they can like?
Some do, but it's like anything, right? Well, for the most part, I do qualify quite hard for that, but
Because
yeah,
it's a powerful thing to hold that mirror to something. Like they have to be emotionally, psychologically ready to have reality like fed back
and actually,
to
yeah, I
them.
would say that was one of the.
I thought I was cool and good at tennis, and then that mirror just smashed me in the face. It's like I gotta rework a couple things. I don't know if I was ready for that. Yeah.
And that was actually probably one of the big change. That was probably one of the big turning points in my own coaching business when things really took off. Is when I was no longer holding back on what I actually wanted to say on a sales call, right? Because I had my own narrative for a part that if I didn't say what I truly wanted to say, I would lose the sale.
Right.
But when I started to like speak my truth of like reality,
Nice.
that's when they're like, shit, if he's like this now, then he's going to be like this. What's he going to be like in real, right? On a coaching call. So obviously, because if I'm not fully embodying what I'm preaching them, right, then they're going to
Yes.
feel that. Most of it will be subconscious. But no, at the end of the day, like they can do what they want to do, but I'm always going to speak my truth to them, regardless of.
So you'll kind of diplomatically call them out, or
I prefer the word like calling them forward, just
Call them
bring them back to reality.
calling them forward. Yeah.
People love to make up stories of getting themselves stuck in their own way. Oh, I can do it. For example, when someone says, "I got to think about it," sure. What does that mean? What can you tell me? Is it like what's your process of thinking about it? Is it you're just going to go home and whatever, watch TV and hope that you're going to feel good tomorrow, or you're actually going to like, what does that look like, right?
Yeah. That's one of my all-time favorite. Yeah. No, it's good. I think that's a really powerful, like a show don't tell, walk the talk is the most powerful thing. And so if you're able to show up on these calls and stuff, like people are gonna register that on a conscious or unconscious level. And, if you're in some ways trying to help people understand, identify, and speak their truth, if you're not doing that yourself. So that I really love that powerful. So that was a powerful shift for you with the experience with the clients and stuff.
Yeah, that was a big part in my coaching journey. Obviously I have my own coaches as well, right? In my personal life, business life, and that was a fundamental part of when things were really kicking off. My business coach, he said like, super close. Like it's basically, I use this here. It's like he's like, all that I want is that whenever you get off a call, your glass is empty. That you said everything you wanted to say, without any attachment of them signing up or not. Just speak your truth. And that's it. And so then my cup would be empty. People would sign up, well, they wouldn't. But I wouldn't be thinking like, because I just let it all out. That's what I wanted to say. And obviously, it's not like saying anything negative, but it's just speaking, my truth.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to make this. In case people are getting bored, I'm not trying to make this like a sales call fixation. But the reason why I am here right now is because the sales call is the interface with, like, that's the meeting. That's where the rubber meets the road of like, are people really ready? Do they really want, like, that's where, like, that's the first step. That's where you really find out, do they really want something? It's like, there's a lot that goes into that juncture in someone's journey, and having the right mirror, the right coach to sort of respectfully show up and mirror to them and speak your truth and kind of guide them through that. So it's not it's a powerful juncture. So it's cool to hear how you speaking your truth and that shifted things. Like that's interesting.
Yeah, it's just deeper embodiment, right? And if we just go back to what you said earlier, right? You don't have to wait for the diagnosis to change your life, right? You don't need to wait for the doctor to come back and say you got stage 4 cancer before going to the gym and eating healthy. You don't need to wait till you get the X-ray that whatever you got a broken leg before you're going to go and take care of your leg, all right? You got to be sovereign and take care of yourself. So stop waiting for the diagnosis, because then by then it might be too late. And it's also like, how much is it costing you to not do anything about it right now, right? How much is it going to cost you to not improve your relationship? Well, how much is a divorce going to cost you? A lot more than investing 5, 10, 15, 20K into a coach.
Yeah, and that's part of the value of like coaching is like are you having that opportunity day to day to really zoom out and truly feel and internalize what this cost of action or inaction, what are the real ramifications of your behavior? Like that's the value, is having that space and time to actually zoom out and be like, oh wow, like, because most people don't think at that level of big picture. That's why, again, these,
and you're going to feel good about yourself. It's like, oh, it's like you're just basically proving to yourself that you are worth something. Like I've never met a human on this planet who have invested into a good coach and be like, oh, I feel bad about myself, I'm invested in myself. No, you're going to feel good. It's going to show, it's going to start changing everything else in your life as well.
yeah. So you have some, I love your shifting gear. You love the spiritual bypassing. So we kind of just up to this point explained presumably not spiritual bypassing. Like the opposite of spiritual bypassing is going to your inner child,
feeding it, being with it, taking full responsibility, accountability, and integration.
And how do you see people bypassing? Like what's up with, what are the ways that look like, oh, maybe you're doing it, or maybe you're convincing yourself you're doing it? I give out like PDFs, ebooks, whatever. It's like it's meant to be a step one. It's meant to initiate you. It's not meant to be, if you get great value from it, like I hope you do, but right, it's like but don't, I wouldn't say get my free ebook and then, like you've done done all the work.
I mean, it's not so much on that spectrum, right? Because obviously you're providing value, you're inviting people for something, right? It's how you're walking life when no one's watching, right? And so obviously that's why it's so important to have a mirror to hold you accountable. So it could be anything, right? Whether that's plant medicine, for example, which I got stuck in myself of the loop of always going back for more without actually integrating what the medicine's already told me and shown me to do in my life. The same with a therapist, right? So it's really about, how you
implementing.
It's the integration, right? Because it's like we can get all these downloads and out of body experiences through any medicine or whatever channeling or whatever source we want, right? But it's how we bringing it back into your body, into this physical world. How we, showing up now for life for it, rather than just staying stuck in the mind or all this woohoo stuff. But how is it like here in your, like how are you showing up now, right? It's the integration.
I love that. So you got you got some cool pain to power stuff. So what are you up to now? You got like a regenerative farm. You got a great coaching practice and helping more people. Like what are some of the cool things that you're passionate about, or kind of what keeps you motivated these days?
Yeah, well, obviously the business side of things is great, and obviously I'm growing myself and investing in myself and expanding, and obviously that's rippling down into the transformation that my clients have as well. So I'm very grateful to be working with such incredible humans right now who are just putting in the work. And actually, I just had breakfast with a client here in Austin.
Wow.
Coming here. She's getting married. I have another client who's getting ready to have babies, and like it's great. But yeah, besides the side of
Just
business,
popping out anxious attachment babies.
Yeah, well that's the thing as well. They've done their work, so they feel safe now to bring babies.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
But obviously I live in the mountains of Colombia, and obviously I've been living off grid there for about a year and a half now, and just finished building my second house. And the main goal there, what I'm building, is actually a retreat center, right? A retreat center where people can come and heal and do more inner work in person. I love in-person events, really meeting people, feeling them, and doing, the collective coming together as well is super powerful. So that really it came from a place of me wanting to create a space that I wish I could have gone to when I was in my early 20s, when I was in the darkest years of my life, right? When I didn't have anyone to reach a hand out to hold on to. I was by myself. That's kind of where it all started. So I'm in the process of building a retreat center there, and this won't be so much around plant medicine. It'll be more like just sober inner work. There will be things here and there, but it won't be a plant medicine retreat center.
I love that.
Yeah, so that's obviously I'm out there on my land. My inner child, my inner boy is playing happy, and I've got chickens and dogs and rabbits. I'm about to get horses next, horse riding, and shooting guns, archery. Just my inner child is just like he now gets to live his life from a place of safety, right? Obviously, yeah, just so much play.
That's
while
amazing.
being
Yeah, and
able
that's a bold. I mean, that's a bold step to do what you're doing, to not live in like a congested city and live in a shoebox down. I don't know, like to really have your own kingdom and stuff out there. Like that's a bit, in my book, a bit of a bold step in a good way. So I love that you're like, yeah, I deserve this, or like what mentally, like I'm just gonna do this thing. Like how did that?
Oh, obviously that was, me working, pushing through my own edge, right? Obviously I've been working with some other male coaches as well, and in some men's groups, and they really supported me a lot in seeing that other men believed in me more than I believed in myself sometimes in my life. Yeah, and I've never really been a city person. I've always been traveling a lot through my career. And people don't know, but I used to be a chef. So I was a chef in restaurants around Europe, Michelin restaurants, and then I was also a private chef on super yachts. So I'd always be working in Europe or in the Caribbean or in the States on the yachts. Whenever I had time, I kept coming back to Colombia, like Colombia, Colombia, Colombia. I just kept on feeling the calling to come back here. And yeah, obviously around 2020, 2021, we all know what happened back then, that crazy time in our life, and that for me was kind of like the wake up call of like, okay, I got to plant my roots, like ground myself. 'Cause obviously back then I was traveling on yachts. I was about to go to Southeast Asia and backpacking, and it was like, okay, it's time to come home and build my own kingdom, because I'd been living out of a suitcase for years, right? And I wasn't very grounded, so that was like the moment of like, okay, I gotta. It was actually on my land that I went and burned all my certificates as a private from my cooking certificates as a chef and my certificates from yachting. So I literally burnt them all on my land, like made a declaration of like, I'm going all in on this mission now to serve other people, to build a retreat center, and to leave behind what was out of alignment and basically killing me inside.
That's awesome. That is so cool. So I'm just geeking out on different things. Have you had any? You've had coaches that were transformative to you. Have you had any books? Or have there been any books that, or things like that have been particularly informative for you?
So definitely coaches, right? All of my coaches have all been great in one way or another. Even those that didn't necessarily deliver on a result, they were always people of integrity. And as for reading, yeah, I'm not so much of a reader myself. I do like to read here and there, but I'd say one first book which kind of like opened my eyes to something a bit different was The Power of Now from Eckhart Tolle, right? But I'm not much of a reader, to be honest.
Are you listening to podcasts? Are you listening?
I'm more of a visual person. So I do listen to some podcasts, but I prefer like watching.
You're a visual learner.
Yeah,
That's good.
I think it's the way I connect more with people, of seeing their energy, and maybe. But I'd say before as well, when I was younger, I wasn't able to sit still and read. When I was a lot younger, I used to love reading. Then I was always on the go. But now I do enjoy a book in my hammock on my land and just reading. I enjoy it, but I'm not like obsessed about it.
Yeah, no, it's cool. Yeah, I just like to poke around, like what little gems. Kind of the more inductive reasoning question is like what little gems, whether it's a book, a course, a mentor, a podcast.
Yeah, I like watching videos like this, like in-person interviews or like podcasts. I like just like no fancy edits, just two or three people. Yeah, like this.
What are you working on these days from a personal growth? Obviously, you've done a tremendous amount of inner child work and all this stuff. And like you said before, we want to be lifelong learners. I definitely resonate with that. Taking a beginner's mind, there's always. I'm a big believer that there's like always a next level, and you can also decide what level and game you want to play, right? So it's not like I'm giving you the game or I'm giving you the levels that you have to jump through those hoops, but just how do you think about your own progress and like what what are you working on for as like a next evolution or next step?
Yeah, well, what I'm really enjoying cultivating now is connecting more of the artist within me, right? The little artist, right? That creative side. And music's really coming to me recently. I'm in the process of learning to play the guitar and singing. Of one of expressing my voice, is speaking my truth in a more authentic way. overcome my own fears of people judging me or singing, playing music, right? So, what I love is just always being a student of life, right? There's always going to be someone out there who knows more than you and who can teach you something. So, sure, it could be easy just to be, on my high horse now and, I've made it, whatever. But it's like, that's boring. I want to continue to learn. So music has been something which is really coming up now a lot, which I'm enjoying. And obviously, like I said, just playing on the land, building, using that creative child mind, like innocence of that creativity, that exploration, or just curiosity. And obviously, taking care of my health and exploring and working out and connecting with other friends who are playing music and just really, building my tribe, connecting more people around the world. So that's what I'm exploring into now, besides the work of things and the building and lots of music and creation right now.
That's beautiful, man. Good for you. Yeah, no, I love things that a lot goes in it, right? It's not just coming up with music, but you have to confront your fears or your other people judging. Like I love things that expose so many different angles of. It's like a personal growth gold mine. Like for me right now, that's tennis, where obviously there's a physical aspect to the sport, but there's so much mindset that goes into it. And when you're losing, or when you're facing adversity, or when there's someone's better than you, like your own sense of inferiority, like it's just such a massive breeding ground to like so much. You have to confront so much. I like things that music for you where it's like it's a bit confronting, and that's the growth edge.
But also the beautiful thing about it as well is now, it's created so much deeper healing for me as well, because I'm actually expressing the emotions of the experience I lived through as a child, and my mom, my dad, my addictions. I'm creating it now, alchemizing it into something beautiful, right? Rather than just hiding or going back to these negative patterns. I'm actually alchemizing it into beautiful songs and like speaking about it. So, yeah, man, it's powerful.
Pain to music. That's my new. That's my new. Well, I appreciate you sharing so much. What else have I missed? Anything else you want to riff on?
I mean, obviously, like I said, you and I, we have similar audiences, right? So obviously, you and I, we could chat back and forth about similar topics that you and both our audiences would find valuable. I mean, about my journey, I think we've covered everything, man. But I'm happy to bounce back and forth or other things, or we can wrap it up whenever you want, man.
Yeah, no, I appreciate. No, yeah, this was a good coverage of your journey. I appreciate you being so open and honest about it. We'll include links, all that, show notes, blah blah blah. But verbally, for the auditory listeners, not the visual listeners, how do you want? How can people find you, or
So I'm mainly on Instagram. Instagram, I'm at Blake Resonates, and also Facebook as well, Blake Goldsmith. And my main website is called awakenfully.com altogether, because that's what the way I like to see it is, people awakening back from the awakening, coming back to truth, right? To fully awaken, right? Obviously, it's one thing to waken up to the world that we live in, but it's like waking up from that awakening so we can come back and then embody it again.
The integration,
exactly.
Like the boot, not just
fully complete,
not just some amazing epiphany, but like how are we really integrating in this?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, like that, what are we doing otherwise, right? That's how are we living life if we're not living it embodied and if we haven't turned our pain into wisdom, then what are we doing?
That's a good question. Blake, appreciate you coming on. We'll have to
do
it again. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.